Claudine Francois and the founder of In Good Clean Taste. I am dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs design a healthy lifestyle by incorporating healthy, delicious tools, tips, and resources that empower their inner and outer game. Every episode, my featured guest and I share our healthy, delicious lifestyle journey on my globally recognized show, Healthy, Delicious Lifestyle with Claudine. Hello and welcome to Healthy Delicious Lifestyle with Claudine. Today's show is how to decode lab reviews with the blood chemistry expert Jeanette De Caro, and I'm so excited to bring her up so we can talk about it. And just remember, if you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. I am content creator and functional medicine practitioner Claudine Francois, and if your health is suffering and you have run all the tests just to be told everything's normal, I would like to be of service. Women are getting incredible insights out of the complimentary sessions I am offering for a limited time to decode those lab results and show you what you can do to take action. So get the link in the scroll or in the comments. Now let's get to today's show. As I mentioned, I'm really excited to bring up today's guest. She has such a wealth of knowledge in this area. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Jeanette De Caro is a functional nutrition therapy practitioner, board certified in holistic nutrition, and has advanced training in interpreting functional laboratory tests to improve your health through bio-individualized nutrition and lifestyle programs, utilizing her signature total transformation program. She started Elation Health and Wellness after years of struggling with her own health issues while being told by her doctors that her labs were normal. How many of us have heard that before? It is her mission to help all women in the prime of their lives have the energy and vibrancy to live the life of their dreams. Oh my goodness, let us bring up this powerhouse. Here she comes. Hello, Jeanette.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited for this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. We're just going to get started because I know we have so much to cover.
We do. We do.
And I'm going to ask you the first thing I ask all my guests, which is, what does a healthy, delicious lifestyle mean to you?
You know, I love this question. And to me, honestly, everything is about energy. And I know that we have talked about this, but having the energy to be able to do the things that you really love and that you want to do and that bring you joy, and not just having the energy to drag yourself through the day and get done the things that you have to do, makes all the difference. Being able to take the time instead of just preparing dinner to make food, but instead to make something new and enjoy yourself and make something delicious, for a dinner. And it just makes such a world of difference.
Yes, that is such a healthy, delicious lifestyle moment. I love that. And you had mentioned earlier that before we got on the show that you want to have this all the energy that you can at this time in your life, because now you can travel when you want to, right? You're not beholden to school schedules.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things is that, and I know, most people know this, but we give so much, mostly as women and as mothers and as wives and as people who have careers. I was over 30 years in the semiconductor world, and it's like working a full-time job, raising children. It's that whole thing of you giving so much. And now that my children are in college and beyond, I'm excited about being able to live the rest of my life with joy and my dreams and being able to recreate myself and do all these fantastic things. But when we feel terrible, we can't do that, you know?
Mhm. Oh
Um,
my gosh, I love that. And actually, it reminds me of, now you had mentioned one of the things you wanted to highlight was element, or LMNT. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
yeah, element, I think is how I do it.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have these little packets. I love them because when it has sodium, potassium, and magnesium. So when you need that little boost of energy, that's what I like to use it for, especially
Yeah.
in the afternoon. But it's kind of an electrolyte, a clean electrolyte. What do you like to use
Exactly.
it for?
I use it in my water when I go to the gym. I think that's a big one. Honestly, I put a little bit in there with every single bit that I drink because it's really important for people to know that pure water alone can't get into your cells. You need those minerals included in the water to be able to get into your cells to be able to utilize them. So, that's something that just is a little tip, that we can all do very easily in our lives. Be that something clean like, a great electrolyte powder like Element, or even something like a pinch of sea salt, in your
Mhm.
water. So,
So
yeah,
good. Yes, I like to call them the little adrenal cocktails. Help be nice to your adrenals and help yourself get some more energy. It's all good.
totally.
All right, so let's get to our first tip, which is if your doctor runs your blood labs and tells you everything is normal, but you do not feel normal, trust yourself and keep digging. You've never heard anyone say that their doctors told them their labs are normal, but they don't feel right, have you?
No, never. Never happened. Including to myself. Never happened.
Yes.
It's
Oh my
so
gosh.
true. I mean, being an advocate for yourself and knowing that something isn't right. So even when you go to the doctor and they run those limited amount of blood tests that they run, right, on a regular basis, maybe 20 or 25 if you're lucky, that type of thing. So when you take a look at those and they come back and they say, no, you're fine, but you still walk away and your hair is falling out and you have no energy and you're in pain and all of these problems. And then they say, oh, it's okay, you're just getting older, that's when you can't accept those kind of answers. You have to keep digging. You have to keep advocating for yourself. And be that pushing your doctor for more tests, or even that being finding someone like us, right? Or finding a functional medicine doctor, finding somebody who will listen to you is key.
That is so important, finding someone who will listen to you, because I have had women on calls with me in tears because
Yes.
they've been told that what they're feeling is not what they're feeling,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
to finally have someone validate what's going, like, to tell you that, "Yes, I not only do I believe you, but I can see it in your labs, like, I can prove to you that what you're telling me is true." Like,
Exactly.
the just the
Exactly.
relief, I mean, yes, it's not great when something's wrong with you, but just the relief that you finally have a way that you know what's wrong and you have a way to fix what's wrong or to start to heal,
Yeah.
that can be completely life-changing for people.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that we look at as, functional nutrition professionals, right? And we're looking for that kind of pattern of dysfunction, before it develops into a disease, is what we're looking for. We want people to feel optimal. We want people to be proactive with their lifestyles. And
Mhm.
blood labs are one of the greatest ways to do that.
Yes, I love that. And I
Mm,
just wanna bring up, you had mentioned this collagen, which is kind of funny because that's the one my husband uses. I have it
I
right
love
here.
it. I love
And
it.
yeah, I wanted to ask you, what do you like about this particular brand?
Well, women as a whole, we just don't get enough protein at all,
Mm.
I mean, and I know there's been a huge push lately. Hopefully, everybody has seen this on social media because I love this. Is 30 grams of protein per meal. I try to stress this with all of my clients that protein is so incredibly important, mostly once we are getting older, So, in addition to, of course, weight training and, that type of thing. But adding a little bit of collagen to your protein drinks, to your smoothies, to your coffee in the morning is just a way to get a little bit of extra protein in your day to try to make sure that you're meeting like that 30 grams per meal goal.
Yes, that's so important. As you kind of alluded to, like once we get past 40, we start losing that muscle mass and um, we have to be very specific about making sure that we try to regain it, right? So either having more
Absolutely.
protein, having more collagen, or
Yep.
having some collagen, doing the weight training, which is always great because
Yep.
that's going to help us in lots of ways. Um,
Yes.
but no,
Yeah,
that's
and
a
it's
good point.
imperative. It's got to be part of that healthy lifestyle.
Mhm.
So I think collagen is just a little way, and not to mention it's great for your gut, it's great for your skin. As we're older, we all want to go into aging beautifully. So these are all just a little things that are easy to do is to add a scoop of that to whatever it is that you have going on during the day. You can add it to oatmeal, you can add it to your chia seed pudding, you can anywhere. So it's just something
Mhm.
that's really easy to do, and it's a quick ad.
Yeah, my husband puts it in his coffee. I'm like, all right,
Oh, same,
have at
same.
it.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, this one is a doozy. This is like a two-parter, and there's so much great information here. So their tip is there is a big difference between your markers being within lab range and being optimal. Just like
Mm,
there is a big difference between symptoms being common versus normal. So let's take
mm,
these one at a time because I feel like there's so much to unpack there. Um,
yeah.
what is the difference between the lab range and optimal range?
Yeah. So again, obviously we are not doctors. We do not diagnose, treat, or cure. But when we look at blood labs, which, from my side or from your side, when we run labs, I'm running about 75 different markers for clients to be able to look at the whole picture of your health, of potential dysfunction, of patterns. Patterns is a huge area when it comes to blood chemistry. So
Mhm.
when your doctor runs labs for you, what they're going to do is they're going to have this very wide range, and if you're outside of that range, then you're in the area of disease. That's when they'll do something. That's when they'll talk to you about something. But you could be at the very top end of that range or at the low end of that range, but you're within range. And then they'll walk away and they'll say, everything is normal, you're okay. So, blood sugar is a fantastic one to look at with us. 9 out of 10, they're going to run a fasting glucose on you. Usually, they won't run an HbA1c, which is an average glucose over about the last 3 to 4 months.
Mhm.
But if they do, what you're going to look at for something like that is if you're over like 6.4 or 6.7 is when you're considered to be, oh no, let me think here. What is the level? I had to run it myself to look at it. Over about 6.4 is pre-diabetic and 6.5 is diabetic, right? But for us, for an optional range, we want to look at something much more narrow so that when you're even approaching the high end of that, we can start to address that.
You said so many good things. Which one do I talk about first? So one, you kind of dabbled into the what we can see in the lab review. So I want to come back to that. But when
Yes.
you were talking about, yes, we want to look at the optimal range. So where are these lab ranges coming from? If it's not the
So
optimal range, what is it?
yeah, that's a great question. So the lab ranges come not only from, they're looking at everybody who's run labs with them at a particular, place. So let's say a national company that does labs everywhere will have a national average. But if you're going to a lab that's only existent, let's say in the Midwest or on the East Coast, they're only looking at their range of people who are considered healthy in a particular area. So that's why the lab range is so incredibly wide. When we
Hmm.
look at it from a functional eye, you're looking at a much less of a like a window. What did you call it, Claudine?
The window of opportunity.
I love that. I'm gonna use that. I love it. So you're looking at the optimal range, and then that range between, let's say, the high end of optimal and the lab is what Claudine calls the window of opportunity. And I love that. It's just great.
So the functional range, if I'm hearing you, I'm just going to kind of rephrase. The functional range is where we want to be, the optimal
Correct.
range, whereas the
Correct.
lab range is kind of a moving target because as people get sicker, that range just gets wider and wider, and it doesn't actually tell us anything about our actual health. It just tells us if we are average like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does. It changes over time. It widens. And what we see in a lot of cases actually is that it's coming down. Look at total cholesterol as an example, right? There used to be a time that a doctor wouldn't want you put on a statin unless it was, your cholesterol was over like 230 or 240. Now it's like 200. So
Mhm.
anything over 200, they want to put you on a statin for. So, these again kind of are moving targets in a lot of cases, but regardless, they're incredibly wide, just an incredibly wide target. Yeah.
So before I get to the symptoms being common versus normal, what kinds of things do you see in labs that maybe a doctor wouldn't notice?
Oh my God. Yeah, this can unpack us quite a bit.
Maybe a
So, I
short
mean,
list.
so again, we're looking for patterns when it comes to blood sugar handling, right? We want to draw attention and make sure that people are addressing things before they're even insulin resistant, let alone have metabolic syndrome or a pre-diabetic or a diabetic, right? So insulin resistance affects so many people. And, there's only about 12% of Americans that are actually metabolically flexible. And that means that, there's only about 12% of Americans that don't have a blood sugar issue in one way or another. So that's something that we're looking for, in depth, because blood sugar then affects all different areas of your body. It can affect cardiovascular disease function, it can affect hormones, it can affect thyroid. It's kind of a key indicator of your health, is to ensure that you're looking at all of this. And you're talking about fasting glucose, HbA1c, as we talked about, and also insulin is another one. Fructosamine is another great marker to look at, and so is leptin. And each of these, typically, your doctor doesn't run. So being able to, again, go with a functional nutritionist that has been trained in blood chemistry, or a functional medicine doctor, they look at all of these, which is incredible. Cardiovascular disease is another huge area. And we're looking at everything from not only total cholesterol and HDL and LDL, but we're also looking at other things like ApoA and ApoB. These are key indicators of your cardiovascular health that regular doctors do not run. Liver and gallbladder, because again, you want to make sure not only your ALT and AST are good, but you're looking at bilirubin and GGT numbers. Thyroid, do you want to talk thyroid?
I was just going to ask you, I'm like, does it drive you nuts when the doctors only run 1 or 2 or 3 thyroid markers instead of like
Oh,
8?
it's just the most frustrating thing in the world. I mean, honestly, probably up to 80% of the people that have hypothyroidism have Hashimoto's. And how many people have you seen where their doctor only runs TSH and never even runs an antibody marker to find out if they have Hashimoto's or not? It
Way too
is,
many.
yeah, it's just frustrating. And it's frustrating for people too, because once you know you have an autoimmune disease, autoimmune conditions aren't just mostly let's just take Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's cannot just be addressed with optimizing your TSH levels. It's not enough. You need to address it from a root cause. So it's upsetting, that people don't know. They walk around and they just don't know. Geez, I'm tired. I've put all this weight. I can't get rid of it. The outer third of my eyebrow, I don't have. All of these are kind of key indicators for hypothyroidism and for Hashimoto's.
And they have
Uh,
additional food sensitivities that keep popping up. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, we don't have time for that. We'll have another
I
episode
know.
for that.
I know. I know. And then
Because
we're talking about if immune patterns, right? Immune activation, inflammation patterns. We're also looking at that from a functional perspective. And you can even have additional markers run if you think you have potentially an autoimmune disorder. There are antibody tests that can be run very easily. Nutritional deficiencies like alkaline phosphatase, magnesium, phosphorus, vitamin D. Oh, such an inexpensive test to run, so quick and easy. And I think post COVID now, most people understand how incredibly important vitamin D is, but the deficiencies and what that even means. And, it's estimated that probably 95% of adults have a vitamin D deficiency. And that's from Dr. Chris Kresser, who, is a leader in the functional health world. So you can see that this is such a huge thing, and it's a fat soluble vitamin, right? So what has the low fat movement done for us with that? It's also activated through the sun with the help of cholesterol. And what do? We avoid the sun, we avoid being outside, we slather ourselves with sunscreen. All of these things can affect those vitamin D levels. So, I mean, it's just, there's so much to it. There's so much to unpack. You're talking anemias also that you can see. I mean,
it's a gold mine of information that's really being
absolutely.
untapped in the traditional medical world, right? Because they'll just be like, "Oh, you're fine," and you walk out.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
So, what did you mean by symptoms being common versus normal?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think energy is probably one of the key things, right? You're feeling tired, you're feeling fatigued, you're driving through the day, you need your coffee in the afternoon or maybe a pastry or something like that to help you get going. You go to the doctor saying, I don't know why, I'm having problems sleeping and I'm really tired throughout the day and this and that. And they're like, well, you're getting older. This is kind of what happens, right? That 100% is common, but it's not normal, you know?
Yes.
Gas, bloating, aches and pains, all of these things in so many cases are 100% not normal, but incredibly common.
Right,
So,
and so then we start to think that they're normal, which is the problem because then when you normalize something, you're just like, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to be," but it's
yeah.
it's really
Yep.
not. So this is what you alluded to earlier. This is my tip of embrace the window of opportunity to reverse symptoms so that you don't have to get to the diagnosable stage. Because as you mentioned, there's the optimal range and then there's the lab range, which is huge. So if
Yeah.
you are outside of the optimal range, but you're still within that lab range, you're going to feel pretty crappy, but you're going to be
Yeah.
told everything's normal, which is really when someone would come to a person like you or to me and we could help them reverse those symptoms and start to feel better because we see all the signs.
Exactly. Exactly. And that can be something as easy as looking at numbers and noticing that somebody is actually incredibly dehydrated, right? Or their electrolyte balance is off. It could be something as easy as that. But it could also be something as complicated as a particular type of anemia, or maybe numbers are indicating that potentially they're looking at some type of chronic viral infection or bacterial infection, that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
again, this test is so incredibly important and relatively inexpensive, even if you can't get your doctor to run a lot of these numbers for you, that it's within reach for everybody to be able to do that.
Yes, and just a reminder, if anyone wants a free lab review, until I book up, which I'm really close to doing because they're super popular, go ahead and schedule yours. I'll put the link in the show notes. So I want to get to our last tip, which is you are the boss of your body. If a solution doesn't resonate with you, get another opinion. And the
Yes.
reason why I felt this was so important was because I feel like there is an innate trust of the medical system for some people.
Mhm.
And I love being trustworthy. I love being trusted. I like trusting people, but if it doesn't feel right, you do not need to go with the person telling you that you need to do something that doesn't feel right to you.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
see this with a lot of clients in that they are being told to get a surgery. They're being told to take a pill and they don't want to do that, but they're
Mhm.
thinking the doctor would know, right? The doctor went to how many years of medical school to learn this
Yeah.
thing. I mean, do you see that with some of your clients?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, there is like, depending on the doctor that you have, there are a tremendous amount of them out there that have that kind of older school mentality where you get 5 minutes of time, you tell them what's going on, they're going to give you a pill for your ill, and then you walk back out the door. And unfortunately, we have been taught to listen to everything they say, not question anything. It's a sense of authority, typically with that. And I think that's why, as you and I talked about, before we came on, that we end up having clients in tears because we will sit with them and listen to them tell their story for an hour and a half, explaining what their life has been like, what their childhood was like, how they were raised, how many antibiotics they had been on, how many, if they were breastfed or not as children. All of these things have a very incredible, you know, path to where you are in your health now. And I think listening, mostly for women, we have kind of been flippantly, tossed to the side so many times. It's incredibly important for us to have somebody who's willing to sit and to listen. And unfortunately, with our current health system, you're talking about, again, one doctor who's seeing probably 35 patients in a day, and he only allocates 5 to 10 minutes for each person. So it's not going to help.
Absolutely, and of course, they're not really getting to the root cause of the issue. They're just I
Right.
call it band-aiding, right? Where they just
Yeah,
slap something on it and
exactly.
hope that the symptom goes away so that you don't complain about it anymore,
Yeah,
right? Instead of
exactly.
actually
And, I mean, there's a perfect place and time. I mean, believe me, if I'm going to break my arm, I'm going straight to the emergency room and I'm going to need their assistance, right? But if I have a chronic autoimmune disease, which I have, right, I'm not going to keep working on it that way only. I'm also going to be looking at different modalities to help with that long-term chronic illness. So let's avoid it before it even gets there. Let's make sure that nobody has to go through this again, and everybody is listened to and feels validated and is proactively able to look at something as easy as blood labs to get answers.
So good. Yes. And I actually, when you were mentioning hydration, it reminded me that you showed me this Hydro Flask, which I need to get one. First of all, blue's my favorite color.
I love that.
Don't
I
you
have
have
mine
one? There you
pink.
go. And yours is red.
Yeah. I mean, hydration is so important. Like we talked about earlier when we were talking about electrolytes, it's so incredibly important. And, not using plastic water bottles. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times, being here in California, that you go to the store, you park your car, you're getting out, you're walking by everybody else's car, and you see inside that everybody has like a plastic Arrowhead water bottle sitting in their hot car while they're inside, right, the store, and then they're coming back out. And I'm just like, oh, or we could get into a whole nother subject when it comes to toxins and
Yes.
plastics and healthier ways to live. But just having something as easy as a stainless steel water bottle accessible, for you to keep your water in. Number one, it keeps you accountable for how much hydration you have, how much water you're drinking, but it's also safer than plastic.
So yeah, we have like a list of shows that we need to do.
I
There
know
are so many things. Oh
we
my
do.
gosh. It has been such an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Jeanette. I cannot thank you enough for being here.
No, thank you so much. I've had such a good time. Thank
Yay. And so
you.
tell people where they can find you if they want to know more about you.
Absolutely. So my website is www.elationhealth. It's ALATIAN, elationhealth.com. And my Instagram handle is elation underscore health. And also, I do have a freebie for the audience, and which is an 8-page guide on an energy boosting guide. So it's how to improve your
Mm,
energy. So I'm
I
sure that
love
Claudine will
that.
help that for everyone. Yeah.
Yes, I will put that in the notes. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I appreciate you. And I'm sure
Thank you.
everyone is going to appreciate this. Why don't you hang out in the green room, have a mocktail? I'll be right
Okay.
back. All
Deal.
right, see you later. Oh my goodness. Was that not amazing? How much information did you learn from this episode? That was just so fabulous. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to remind you, how are you going to create a healthy, delicious lifestyle for you today? And until then, be sure to join me for another episode of Healthy, Delicious Lifestyle next Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific or 11 a.m. Central. Have a healthy, delicious day. Thank you for joining me today. You can learn more about me, my products, and services at ingoodcleantaste.com. Be sure to join me for another episode every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific or 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on my globally recognized show, Healthy Delicious Lifestyle with Claudine.